All right, guys, so we got to talk about this very interesting exchange between a gay Democrat lawmaker out of Missouri by the name of Ian Mackey, who's a state representative, going off on GOP rep Chuck Bassett, who's a Republican, over the Save Women's Sports Act that is currently being considered by lawmakers in the state. Now, the Save Women's Sports Act is basically legislation that would ban biological males from competing against biological women in sports. You know, common sense legislation that all these red states have been passing that Democrats are fiercely opposed to because they're against women's rights. Yeah, this guy got very, very, very emotional over the fact that Republicans are supporting this bill. So emotional that he actually, again, confronted this Republican representative and brought up his family during the confrontation as a way to try to guilt trip the Republican on supporting women's rights. Take a look.
Do you remember your remarks on the floor last year when you brought this up?
You'd have to give me a specific. I mean, I made a lot of remarks last year.
So I recall a story you told about your brother.
Okay.
And I remember you said that your brother called, or that your mother called you, I believe, to tell you that your brother had some news that he was afraid to tell you.
Okay.
And your brother wanted to tell you that he was gay, didn't he?
He was expressing that to the family, and he thought that we would hold that against him and not let my children be around him.
Why do you think he thought that?
I don't know. It never would have happened, I'll tell you that. My kids at that point in their life adored my brother.
Can I tell you, if I were your brother, I would have been afraid to tell you too.
Well, I'm sorry.
I would have been afraid to tell you too because of stuff like this. Because this is what you're focused on. This is the legislation you want to put forward. This is what consumes your time. I would have been afraid to tell you too. I was afraid of people like you growing up, and I grew up in Hickory County, Missouri. I grew up in a school district that would vote tomorrow to put this in place. And for 18 years, I walked around with nice people like you who took me to ball games, who told me how smart I was, and who went to the ballot and voted for crap like this. And I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait to move to a part of our state that would reject this stuff in a minute. I couldn't wait. And thank God I made it. Thank God I made it out. And I think every day of the kids who are still there, who haven't made it out, who haven't escaped from this kind of bigotry. Gentlemen, I'm not afraid of you anymore because you're gonna lose. You may win this today, but you're going to lose.
Cool story, bro. Right? Cool story, bro. That would have been my response if I was that Republican, because I don't know what the hell that Republican's personal family has to do with this bill. What does being gay have to do with this bill? This bill is about protecting women's rights in sports. It's about making sure that biological men don't compete against biological women in sports, okay, taking away their scholarship opportunities and their opportunities to compete on a fair playing field and also not get hurt, okay, while playing their sport. Unnecessarily, put it that way, right? What does that have to do with being gay? What does that have to do with being gay? I'm trying to figure it out. This has no effect on anybody that is gay at all. So what is the outrage about? Why are you bringing up this man's family and his brother being gay? Right? And trying to imply that this man is a bigot, okay, and that his brother wouldn't be accepted in his family, and that he wouldn't let his kids see his brother or whatever. Why are you bringing this up for a bill that has nothing to do with being gay? Even if the bill has something to do with being gay, I still think it's inappropriate for you to try to call this man out like that, right? And his family. I mean, I don't necessarily know if I would have handled that the same way that guy handled it, okay? Like, he really held his composure because I thought that was totally unnecessary. And you know, I just find it fascinating how these Democrats are so passionate about something that they claims is being done for nothing, right? They claim that it's not going to have an effect. They claim that this problem doesn't exist. So if the problem doesn't exist, what's the issue, right? What's the issue? I don't understand. But no, I do understand. It actually is an issue, and they're against women's rights. That's just what it comes down to when it comes to these Democrats. They're against women's rights. They simply don't care about the rights of women. That's why they're totally fine with men occupying and taking over all their spaces. They're totally fine with that. But the Republicans, the conservatives, they're bigots though, right? They're bigots for trying to protect women, trying to make sure women have a fair opportunity to compete against sports and not get dominated and hurt by a man competing against them. We're bigots for that, right? But you're not a bigot for being for that, being for women getting dominated in their own sports, not having a fair shot in their own sports, not having their own spaces. Okay, you're not a bigot for that. Okay, you're not a misogynist for that, because I think that is the most misogynistic thing that I can think of, wanting men to be dominant over women's spaces. It's very misogynist, and based off how this guy is so passionate about being against women's rights, I think that he's a misogynistic bigot. I'm just saying. That's what I would call him. Right? Since we throwing around terms and labels, all these Democrats that are against women's rights are misogynistic, sexist bigots. That's what they are. That's what they are. Okay? So, again, I found his meltdown to be cringe and at the same time inappropriate and kind of out of line as well, too, in regards to him bringing up this man's family. But, again, it's par for the course with the Democrats, because he actually can't argue on the merits of whether or not it is fair for biological women to compete against biological men in sports. He has to resort to talking about the man's family, right, and trying to guilt trip him into not supporting this bill, because, again, he can't really argue on the merit. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.